Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Carving It Up NFL Kickoff Show, our second annual Carving It Up NFL Kickoff Show, our first one being broadcast on YouTube right now. I'm Bryson Carver, as always. Joining me right now is my man, Ryan Flowers, Clutch Sports Talk. What's going on, my man?
What's up, man? Hey, this is a great time of year. It's football, man. I'm excited. Thanks for having me on again, brother.
100%. This is, hey, we've been waiting 7 months for this. It feels so
Yes.
good. Had some college football, and
Yeah.
now we got the NFL, the granddaddy of them all, if you will.
Exactly.
So, real quick before I go into basically what we're going to be doing is going to be doing some of my predictions based on, record by record, all 32 teams. And also, before we get into the playoff predictions, I will pretty much list my season award list.
Right.
Who wins the MVP, Coach of the Year, Rookie of the Year, the whole thing. So looking forward to doing this with Ryan Flowers, great dude. So let's start with the defending champs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So they're obviously looking to go back-to-back. Tom Brady's looking to win an unprecedented 8th Super Bowl title.
It's crazy.
The Bucs looking to win their 3rd Super Bowl championship in franchise history. There's been talk possibly of undefeated, of 20-0, the first 20-0 team in NFL history. They brought back all 22 starters this season. That has not been done by a Super Bowl champion since the Steelers did it in 1979, 42 years. What are your thoughts, Ryan, on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their repeat chances?
Well, as far as the undefeated, I think that's really hard to do in the National Football League, just because of injuries, things of that nature. Do I think they're the best team in the NFC right now on paper? Yeah, they are. They definitely are. I mean, they returned all their starters. They're at least they're significant starters, including like Tom Brady, of course, their defense. And honestly, the NFC is not as stacked as you would say the AFC is. So I think honestly, you can almost pencil them in without any injuries. And I see them getting back at least to the NFC Championship game, barring any major injuries or some type of something crazy, catastrophic that happens within the organization. But I really think that I'm not going to say they have a cakewalk, but I mean, their division isn't as tough as it used to be. The Saints probably won't be as good as they once were. Carolina is Carolina still. And who's the other team? The Atlanta Falcons. They may surprise some people, but honestly, I mean, the Buccaneers, they figured it out now. Once we saw it started to kind of shake a little bit, which was to be expected. They didn't have a regular offseason program activities. They figured it out, and you saw what happened was the end result in them winning a Super Bowl. So, but I see them getting back to the NFC Championship for sure, and possibly even getting back to the Super Bowl and winning it.
It's about as, I don't want to say improbable, but about as crazy a turn of events as we've seen. I mean, ever since their first Super Bowl championship back in obviously the 2002 season when they had that unbelievable defense, it was about 15 years plus of just dysfunction, new coaches, new quarterbacks, new GMs. And it just goes to show you once you find your franchise quarterback, albeit at the time he's 43 years old, he could take you anywhere as long as you got the roster. So that's what should give any team. You look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, won't happen as quick for them. But, once you find that guy, you can go anywhere you want as long as you put the right pieces around him. And that's exactly what the Buccaneers have done. Let's talk about the team they beat in the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs. The one weakness they had in their entire roster, maybe save for some deficiency on the defensive side of the football, offensive line. That's what got them beat in Super Bowl 55. Patrick Mahomes running all over the place. It was a rough night for him. And in the offseason, they completely bolstered their offensive line. Got a new center, got a new left guard, got a new left tackle, right tackle. So when you look at the Chiefs this year, do you believe they are the favorites to get out of the AFC? And if not, who?
And I kind of just said this a couple of seconds ago about the AFC a little bit being more stacked. I think AFC is stacked, but I think Kansas City is still that team everyone is still going to be having to chase. Patrick Mahomes it's hard to game plan for a guy like that. And like you said, they did bolster their offensive line, which was their weakness going into the Super Bowl. I'm not sure if teams like the Bills are ready to contend with them yet. I know the Browns gave them all they got, but let's just be real. Patrick Mahomes got hurt in the end of that game. Maybe it's a different story. If Patrick Mahomes stays in, who knows? Who else is out there? Miami Dolphins, people are kind of getting on them. But there's questions at their quarterback position. Will Tua even play a full season without getting pulled every now and then for Jacoby Brissett? Because I think he's there now. So there's some good teams, but at the end of the day, I think the Chiefs are the class of the AFC, and they should be. I mean, they're the defending AFC champions, and all roads that go through the Super Bowl need to go through Kansas City if you're in the AFC. So yes, I think they are the favorite to win. Just because you have a great, tandem with, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. They still got Kelsey. They still got Hill. You still have to address those guys. Their running game isn't, is it like the Tennessee Titans? No, but they don't need to run the ball like the Tennessee Titans. They just need to run the ball when they need to run the ball. And I think that's what sometimes people get confused, when, this team doesn't run the ball enough. Yeah, that's fine. But when they need to run the ball on short yardage, they can do that. So as long as you got Patrick Mahomes back there, they're always going to be the favorite in my book.
100%. And you brought up the running game. A lot of people believe Clyde Edwards-Helaire could possibly have a bounce back year. He had a good start to his rookie year, and then he kind of tailed off towards the end. His carries went down quite significantly. But behind that new offensive line, man, if they can add a consistent running game, good night. I mean, it seemed like it's just about over. All right, let's talk about a team that's one could argue has been the most talked about team this offseason. That's been the Green Bay Packers, at least since draft day. A lot of people believe, including myself, this is Aaron Rodgers' last dance in Green Bay. Do you think they did anything in the offseason, whether it's with Aaron, whether it's with their roster, that you can say definitively made them a better football team than they were last year? And do you think they can compete with the likes of Tampa Bay or the Los Angeles Rams, for example?
I don't think they did anything significantly. I mean, they haven't done anything significantly in quite some time. I know that they ended up re-signing Aaron Jones, which was a big thing for them. He's one of the best running backs they've had in quite some time. But other than that, the draft, they really didn't address anything in there as well. I mean, they haven't done anything. I mean, honestly, but at the end of the day, can they still compete with those Rams? And yeah, I think they can, because you have Aaron Rodgers. Once you have Aaron Rodgers, it's, he's the great equalizer. And we saw that, because honestly, they could have probably they should have been in the Super Bowl. Honestly, they should have been in the Super Bowl. They should have beat the Buccaneers. I mean, they beat the Rams. Yes, the Rams were kind of depleted. They didn't have their quarterback. Aaron Donald was hurt. Yes. And I'm not that big on the Rams either. So, like, I feel like they're a good team, but at the end of the day, you need that quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers is special. And I think just because of having him, they're still going to be up in the what you call it, in contention,
upper echelon. Yeah.
Upper echelon, just because him. Now, when he leaves, okay, then it's another story.
It was really interesting, talking about, is he going to get traded? Is he not going to get traded? He said, at his opening press conference, he pretty much spilled the tea all over the table. He said, listen, my relationship with my teammates, great. Relationship with Matt LaFleur, coaching staff, great. Front office, not so much. So that'll be really, really interesting to see how, if they go on a little losing streak, which they didn't do last year, is there some tensions that come up? So I will definitely, along with you, along with America, be watching what Green Bay does this season and whether they can get back to the NFC Championship game for a third consecutive year. Last team, we're talking about the interesting teams like right now. This team is certainly has been interesting for the last few years before I go into my predictions. The Cleveland Browns. This is a team that had an excellent offseason in my view. They had a pretty good draft. They added some dudes in free agency. You talk about Grant Delpit, who was hurt last year. Bring him back from his injury, and this is basically his rookie year. Their offensive line is unbelievable. It's kind of ask you the same question about the Browns. I guess I ask you about the Packers. Can they compete with Kansas City? Because my view is I think it's the quarterback that's going to hold them back in the very end.
Yep, I agree. I think on paper, they're probably the most talented team in the National Football League. Like, literally, they don't think they have a weakness really anywhere other than, you can say, the quarterback. But Baker Mayfield, for whatever it's worth, he did a really good job in Kevin Stefanski's system last year. So, like you said, the offensive line is tremendous. Their defensive line is tremendous. Their secondary, they've gotten better. Denzel Ward, they're going to get Delpit. We're going to see how he does. Their linebacking core is good. Offensively, they got good wide receivers. OBJ is back. And of course, their running back stable is tremendous. Nick Chubb by himself is a beast. And then you sprinkle in a little bit of what's his name?
Kareem Hunt.
So yeah, it's going to boil down to the quarterback play, I think. Because here's the thing. Kevin Stefanski's system is run-based oriented, right? Now, if the Broncos get behind in a game, which you can be when you're playing the Chiefs, you know, you're going to have to get in a shootout with them. And obviously, is Baker Mayfield set up to get in a shootout with Patrick Mahomes? Most people would say no, he isn't. And their offense isn't based on trying to get in a shootout. They want to control the ball. They want to move the pocket with some play action. They want to get down the field where Patrick Mahomes is mostly in the gun for the most part, and they're slinging it everywhere. So, but their defense is good enough, I would say, to maybe slow down the Chiefs every now and then. But I would not foresee a game between them again. And I think they open up with each other, I believe, week 1.
Week 1 in Kansas City at Arrowhead.
Right. So that game, you're going to have to score 25 or more points to beat the Chiefs. And can they do that? It's going to be close, but that's what you're going to have to do. And Baker Mayfield is going to have to be the driving catalyst and towards to do that.
Just like for the Dallas Cowboys on opening day against Tampa, and I will be predicting that game at the end of the show, Cleveland going to Kansas City, that's the ultimate measuring stick. Where are we? Where do we need to improve? And then you got the next 17 weeks to figure that out from there. But man, they have been the most interesting, I guess, non-contending team, at least up until this year, that we have in the NFL besides the Dallas Cowboys. With the quarterback, with the head coaching carousel, it looks like they finally found their man in Kevin Stefanski, and just some of the roster moves that's been made. I'm excited to watch the Cleveland Browns this season, without a doubt. All right, it's time. 7 months. NFL predictions. Before I get into this year's predictions, I'm going to go and put up my predictions from last year. So here's the AFC. This is what I had last year. I had, for the podcast audience, from 1 seed down to 7, I had the Ravens, Chiefs, Texans, Bills, Steelers, Colts, and the Browns getting as the 7. Obviously, I was a little wrong on some of those. Houston was awful. They were there, and they still are awful. They're a complete disaster. But outside of that, I got pretty much every playoff team, I believe. So the one team I missed would have been the Titans. I didn't have the Titans get in.
Yep.
So they got in last year. And then the NFC, 1 through 7, I had the Saints, Seahawks, Cowboys, Packers, Buccaneers, 49ers, Vikings getting in last year. I was a little more off on some of those. Both the Cowboys and the Vikings did not make it. It was, in fact, the Washington football team and the LA Rams that got into the playoffs last season. So here we go. Division by division. Let's do it. Starting with the AFC East. Record by record, here's what I got. 1 through 4. The Buffalo Bills are going to win the division with a record of 13-4. You look at what Josh Allen has done in his career, Ryan. You're talking about a guy who came into the league, who threw for 10 touchdowns his rookie year, 12 interceptions. It was pretty abysmal. He comes in year 2, throws 20. He doubles it. Last year, he almost doubles it again to 37 and, is in the MVP discussion. If I'm not mistaken, he might have finished second or third to Aaron Rodgers. And so I think the Bills are due for, once again, a great season. Sean McDermott is an excellent head coach, and I believe they addressed that defense in the offseason. I think Miami goes 10-7. I think Tua has a good, not great year, but a good year, certainly much better than his rookie season. Full off season, doesn't have to worry about hip replacement. Not hip replacement, but hip surgery in general. But it wasn't that serious. But he knows the playbook now. Full off season with Brian Flores and the offensive coaches in Miami. I've got the Dolphins getting in at 10-7. Third, the New England Patriots at 8-9. I think I had them at 9-8 until they released Cam Newton. Now, those that watch the show know that I defended them releasing Cam Newton just with everything that happened before and after that, obviously. But I think you're putting Mac Jones in a tough situation. And those out there know that me and Ryan are exactly huge on Mac Jones. Obviously, you're giving him a good offensive line, a really good running game. That Henderson kid that they drafted looks really good in the preseason. The receiving core, though, is a different story. N'Keal Harry, Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, Gunnar Olszewski. I mean, that's not exactly going to compete with the likes of the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think this is going to be, once again, another down year for New England. Again, Bill Belichick, without Tom Brady in his career, 2 winning seasons, 1 playoff appearance. So I think that's going to come to fruition once again this year. Then obviously, coming in last in the division, the New York Jets. Shout out to our man, Alfred. This is not going to be a good year for him and for Jets fans. They go 4-13.
Sure will not be.
So your thoughts on my prediction of the AFC East, Ryan?
I think you're spot on. I just did my AFC predictions last week, Monday, and I pretty much had it the same way. I didn't do the records because I don't know. I'm not good at math, I guess. I don't know, but but um, I had it exactly the same way. Even with Cam being there or not being there, I still think the Patriots were going to finish third anyway. The Dolphins maybe could compete with the Bills. I think those two are going to split a game.
Agreed.
Maybe at home somewhere, because the Dolphins are good enough. Their defense is very good. It just depends on Tua. But other than that, I think this is spot on. The Jets, honestly, you got a rookie quarterback, a rookie NFL head coach. Still not a lot of firepower for the Jets, but and they are the Jets. I mean, they haven't really done much in quite some time. So, no, I would have definitely picked this the same exact way.
The tough thing about the Jets is that we've seen Zach Wilson the preseason, and talent-wise, now I don't know if I go to where Tony Romo went talking about he's going to be Patrick Mahomes. I wouldn't go there, even coming from Tony Romo himself. But talent-wise, I mean, arm angles, that's not an issue. There's a reason he was drafted second overall in the draft. But I look at the fact Robert Saleh, who I liked and thought should have gotten a job last year, he is still without question the fourth best coach in his division. I mean, you're talking about Bill Belichick, Sean McDermott, Brian Flores, like established head coaches in this league. So it's going to take time to build that culture. That's going to be a defense that is definitely going to struggle.
Yeah.
So let's go to the AFC South. My AFC South predictions. I've got the Indianapolis Colts winning the division, a weak division with a record of 10-7. Number one, Carson Wentz's injuries are already a concern before a game even kicks off. You're talking about last year, he had by far the worst season of his career. The one hope that Carson Wentz can have, and to me, this is the only shot he has at preserving his career in the NFL as a starter. First year back with Frank Reich, offensive coordinator of the year, that Carson Wentz arguably was going to win the MVP up until his, of course, unfortunate ACL tear in Week 14 against the Rams. But he's got the running game, Jonathan Taylor, who I loved coming out of Wisconsin. Breakout year. You're talking about an unbelievable offensive line. Quentin Nelson will be back at some point next season. He's the best guard in football without a question. That defense led by Darius Leonard, it's no joke. Special teams is good. So talent-wise, love the Colts. I think you compare overall as a team, they are without a question by far the best team in the AFC South, including the Tennessee Titans, who I have finishing second in the division with a disappointing 8-9. I have them at this because they had Julio Jones. Offense is not my concern. Okay, Derrick Henry is a monster, best running back in the league. Ryan Tannehill had a really good year last year. But part of the reason Ryan Tannehill did have a good year, Arthur Smith, well, he's now the head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. He's gone. I think that's going to hurt them. I think the fact they didn't address their defensive needs in the draft or in free agency is really going to hurt them. Even with a defensive coach like Mike Vrabel, they're already having COVID problems. So I think this is going to be a disappointing year for the Titans. There's always a couple teams that miss the playoffs a year after making it. I think the Titans will be one of those teams. And then third and fourth are two, horrible football teams. The Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I believe they will split a game. And I highly doubt Deshaun Watson will play a game this year. And as much as I love Trevor Lawrence, I'm not as big on Urban Meyer, and it's going to be a long year for him. So your thoughts on my South predictions?
I went back and forth with this one between the Titans and the Colts. I ended up taking the Titans number one and the Colts number two. And partly is because I don't trust Carson Wentz. I don't trust him. He'll be there. He's going to get hurt again at some point, because guess what? They're going to play games now. He got hurt like in practice, right? Or something like that.
Yep.
And then the whole thing with COVID, like he's part of the group that does not believe in taking the vaccination. And so that could play a big part in the season, which a lot of people really don't understand. Like the rules in regards to the NFL, in regards to COVID and the vaccination, it's pretty big. So he's one of those guys that don't want to take it. He's probably going to get hurt eventually. I do agree their defense is good versus the Tennessee Titans, but it comes down to me with quarterback play. I think Tannehill will be there more for the long run, because right now, who's the backup for the Colts?
It's Jacob Eason,
right? Because the other guy got hurt. They drafted from Texas, so he's out a couple weeks. So you're right. The Tennessee Titans, they did not address their defense, which I thought they should have, because we saw in that AFC divisional game where they could not rush the quarterback. And they still haven't been able to address that situation. But in the end of the day, I still like the Tennessee Titans, not because they added Julio Jones, because he's a nice pickup. He may not even play a lot of games because he's injury prone as well too.
He
But
is.
I like Mike Vrabel. I like what he's done in Tennessee. I like their running ability. So but this was a toss up, but I ended up just going with the Tennessee Titans just because I don't trust Carson Wentz. He'll be there enough. And then the bottom two, I mean, yeah, that's spot on. I mean, those guys, those are terrible franchises. Even if Deshaun Watson were to play, I would still think that they would finish in the bottom anyway, just because they don't have a very good roster. Why? Because Bill O'Brien just basically traded away the whole roster to the NFL. And like you said, in the Jacksonville Jaguars, rookie head coach and Urban Meyer, rookie quarterback and Trevor Lawrence. Now, they're a young team. They're gonna lose a lot of games. I think I will say this about the Jags. They will be in a lot of close games just because they do have some talent on the offensive side as far as their weaponry outside on the perimeter. But because they're young, they're going to figure out ways to lose games. And I can see them easily, like you said, like you have it put there 2-15. So, but yeah, the only thing I would have switched would have been the Titans and the Colts.
Yeah, I definitely see your points on the Titans, and I 100% see your points on Carson Wentz. It's the old cliche. Best ability is availability.
Exactly.
And you don't know what you're getting as far as availability. And at this point now, at least from what we saw last year, consistency on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of interceptions, a lot of bad throws, a lot of fumbles. So he'll have to clean that up for the Colts to win this division, because that roster is no joke. It's got to be.
Oh, they're ready to go. I mean, the Colts, I've always said that in the last couple of years, they're a quarterback away. Now, when they got Carson Wentz, we're like, okay, is he the guy? I don't know, but they're definitely a quarterback away from being an elite team in the National Football League.
I can't not think about Andrew Luck. And had he not retired, that would have, it just sucks that they didn't put the team around him to begin with. And so that's going to be a theme for another team from this next division I'm going to predict. In my view, the second best division in the whole National Football League, and that's the AFC North. Here you go. I've got the Baltimore Ravens winning the division with a record of 12-5. I don't get the Lamar Jackson slander for the life of me. You're talking about a guy who's a unanimous MVP. You're talking about year in and year out, he gets better. Yes, his mechanics are not beautiful. They'll get better. What is in year 4? He's young. He's going to get better. That Ravens offense is completely centered around him. I think the loss of J.K. Dobbins is big, though. I think that's definitely one that's going to hurt them possibly in the future in some of those tight football games where they're going to have to count on Lamar a little bit more throwing the football. But you're talking about, they added Sammy Watkins. Now, is he going to be available? That's the number one question, because Lamar's never really had a true number 1 or number 2 receiver. But that defense is really good. So I will take the Ravens to win the division at a record of 12-5. Cleveland Browns go to 11-6. Back-to-back years, they win 11 games. Once again, that roster is like you said it yourself, Ryan, arguably the best in the NFL. Outside of, we can debate on what we think about Baker Mayfield, but they've got the coach. They've got the running game, offensive line, receivers. Defense got better. This is a team that has Super Bowl potential. It just depends on how far Baker can take them. I had the Steelers at 8-9, but out of respect for Mike Tomlin, I gave him an extra win to 9-8. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing career, losing season in his career. So I'm going to give them 9-8. But the fact that they, people saying, "Hey, Big Ben's in shape now," but can he push the ball down the field? Like, I still don't know if he can do that. I don't know if he has the arm strength at age 39 that he did, not that long ago. So I had the Steelers at 9-8, and the Cincinnati Bengals finished once again last in their division, 4-13. I get it. They got Jamar Chase in the draft, LSU tandem with Joe Burrow. They still didn't address the offensive line.
Nope.
It's going to be the same story. Talked about Andrew Luck a second ago. It's going to be an Andrew Luck story, Cincinnati, if you don't address this glaring need. And if they didn't do that. And so I think their defense is awful. I don't like Zach Taylor as a head coach.
Me neither.
And their offensive line is abysmal. Joe Mixon is one of the better running backs we have, but they're going to be trailing so many games. He's not going to get that many opportunities. So in this division, the Bengals are going to have, once again, another bad year, 4-13. Your thoughts, Ryan, on my predictions for the AFC North?
Again, I would just switch 1 and 2.
Okay.
I like the Browns, and I hate saying this because we say this every year, and they let you down. But I think this year is where they get it right. I think they get the job done this year, because their talent on their roster is just overwhelmingly better than most of everyone in the division. I like Lamar Jackson. I'm not going to say he sucks because he doesn't suck. He's
No,
an
not at all.
MVP. He's a Heisman winner. He doesn't suck. But I still am not sold on him yet as a quarterback in the National Football League. Yeah, he'll win a lot of games with you. I mean, because I think he's won like 80% of his games since he's been a starter. So which is great. I'm not going to take that away from him because at the end of the day, you got to win the games. But when you want to start talking about the upper echelon guys, you got to win the games that really matter, and those are playoff games. Now, he got the one win against the Titans, which was close. You saw what happened to him when he played a more formidable defense in Buffalo. They kind of shut him down a little bit. And this is the reason why I like the Browns a little bit better, because the Browns overall, they're not solely built around one particular player. Like, they can run the football. Baker Mayfield, as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, he's got weapons to throw to. Yeah, the Baltimore Ravens added Sammy Watkins, but really Sammy Watkins hadn't been Sammy Watkins since, I don't know, maybe his Buffalo days.
Yeah.
And I forgot that he was even in the league, to be honest with you. So it would suck for them too. The Ravens, I forgot the wide receiver they drafted, Bateman, I believe his name was.
I believe, yes.
He goes down. I think, they had high hopes for him. He goes down with an injury. Then J.K. Dobbins goes down. Their defense lost Matthew Judon to the Patriots. He was a very big piece of their defense.
He was.
They're a little older on the defensive side of the ball. They're still a good team, and I think they're still good enough to be second in the division. I just like the Browns just catching up and kind of surpassing them a little bit there. So I would have the Browns 1, Baltimore Ravens 2. I like the Steelers at 3 because you're right. The Steelers aren't really that good anymore. Like, I mean, their defense is elite. I'll give them that. But outside of that, I'm not really excited about their wide receiving core. Juju Smith-Schuster, although I'm a USC fan, I haven't really been a fan of him since he's been in the NFL. I would say after Antonio Brown left, he had a chance to kind of break out and be that guy. And all we see him is doing is crate challenges now. TikToks are still going on. Things like, I'm an older guy, so like stuff like that annoys me because I get it.
Right.
This generation, that's what it's about, TikToks and whatever, right? But I feel like he's more into that than actually being a wide receiver. And I don't know him personally, so I don't want to just say that full-heartedly, but just from what I see from my perspective, it's like it's a distraction. And we saw what happened last year with him doing the TikToks on the 50-yard line for every stadium. Like, that became a distraction. And when you become a distraction, you're not helping the team. And I'm not saying they lost games because he was doing TikToks. I'm not saying that. But I don't know if he's as focused as he needs to be. And with Big Ben being in shape, like he's older now. Like, he should have been getting in shape. And we all know Big Ben has not been a gym rat. He doesn't work out. He probably drinks a couple 6-packs before a game and goes out there and does his thing, and it shows, right? He's older now. He's not the same guy anymore. I feel bad for Najee Harris because he's one of my candidates for offensive rookie of the year just because they're going to use the hell out of him because they have to. But they didn't address their O-line issues as well. So they're coming back with a weaker O-line than what they had last year. And then the Bengals, yeah, I'm not a big fan of Joe Burrow. I just like, everyone's like, oh God, he's so great. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe he has to warm up to me a little bit, but I just don't see it. And you're right. They passed up on Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase. Looks like he can't even catch COVID right now, yet alone a football. It's just in Zach Taylor too. Like, I don't even know how some of these guys get head coaching jobs, but overall, I do agree with pretty much your picks here, just 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Long story short.
I agree with just about everything you said about the Pittsburgh Steelers. As far as Cincinnati Bengals, longtime listeners of the show know I was not huge on Joe Burrow coming out of last year's draft.
Right.
And part of that was because he was going to the Cincinnati Bengals, and I didn't think he was, say, the Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning type talent that could just turn a dysfunctional organization around. And thus far it's not been so great. So I think the deciding factor for me, Ryan, on the Ravens and the Browns is that Browns, once again, a lot of hype coming into the season. I would say they lived up to it last year. I mean, they got a playoff win. They did 11-5, and they competed with the team that ended up getting the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting though about the Ravens, nobody's really talking about them this year. Like, that there has the only real story about the Ravens in the offseason is whether Lamar's going to get an extension. Right. And even that hasn't been a massive story. It's not been the Aaron Rodgers story by any stretch of the imagination. So I think they like the fact that nobody's really talking about them. It's championship DNA. They've won 2 Super Bowls. They're a very well-run organization, good coaching staff, good front office, and they draft extremely well. So that was ultimately the deciding factor for me with the Ravens.
And you got to remember with Lamar Jackson as well. He's like Carson Wentz. He's still debating on getting the vaccine as well, and he's caught COVID twice. So if he gets it again, later down the line, that could be a very pivotal event for that organization. So he could miss time. He could miss a playoff game. We don't know. So that's something you have to kind of, you have to keep that into account now is COVID, who's vaccinated, who's not vaccinated. Because if this guy is vaccinated, then there's certain rules for him. He can do this and this. If he's not vaccinated, this guy can't do this and this and this. So those are some things you want to consider as well.
It's a good point, and I don't think the Ravens are going to feel too awful confident with Trace McSorley going into Heinz Field or going into Cleveland.
Or the other guy, Huntley.
Yeah, Brett Hundley, yeah, the Aaron Rodgers longtime backup.
Right.
So, okay, that's my predictions of the North. Let's go to the AFC West.
Yep.
No shock. I've got the Kansas City Chiefs winning the division, 14-3. Sorry, Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, you're not going 20-0. Although the offensive line did get significantly better, which to me is just unbelievable what they did as far as trades. To me, the steal of the draft, call me biased, I don't care. Trey Smith out of Tennessee was the steal of the draft. All SEC left guard. The only issue with him, he had a blood clot problem back when he was at Tennessee. So that scared some teams off, but not Andy Reid, not Brett Veach in the Chiefs front office. And I think they got themselves a heck of a player. So Kansas City wins the division for obvious reasons. I've got the Chargers going 10-7. I like the head coaching hire. I like what they did with their offensive line in the offseason. They obviously have an excellent receiving core defensively as well. But to me, what just blows my mind, and I actually had Justin Herbert as my 10th best quarterback in the league when I did my rankings the other week. Justin Herbert, maybe I'm sure you've heard the stat, Ryan, worst offensive line last year and broke basically every rookie quarterback record and actually didn't start one game, the first game of the year against Cincinnati. So basically in 15 games, he shattered all of Peyton Manning's and Baker Mayfield's rookie quarterback records. So he is special as far as talent is concerned. He can move.
Oh, absolutely.
He's 6'6", got a great frame, got a great arm accuracy. He's got it all. So I think the Chargers are going to take a big step in the right direction this year. They got hot toward the end of last year, winning their last 4. So I think they'll carry that momentum into 2021 and go 10-7. I've got the Denver Broncos going 8-9. They may switch back and forth between Bridgewater and Drew Lock. Obviously, Bridgewater is a starter week 1. The thing with him is he's kind of in that, he's kind of the Alex Smith type quarterback, right? He's not going to make that play that loses you the game, but he's not going to make the big one, the Patrick Mahomes play to just blow you away. Right. Denver, it sucks because Denver has a really good roster. You're talking about a really good receiving core, good tight end, Noah Fant. Offensive line, Garrett Bowles is really good. Running game's decent. And then defensively, they've been great at that for years. They added Patrick Surtain in the draft. You've got Von Miller still there. You got Bradley Chubb is there. So they'll be in a lot of close games. But I think I'm not big on Vic Fangio. I think this is his last year in Denver. I think he gets fired after this season. But that's kind of my thing with the Broncos. And I don't like the Las Vegas Raiders at all. I've got them at 4-13. I think when they're a team also, I guess a step below that Cleveland Browns territory where it's a non-contender that everybody talks about.
Right.
You got John Gruden and Mike Mayock and a lot of former TV personalities, and Derek Carr, Darren Waller, and Josh Jacobs are just about the only 3 things I like about this roster. Everywhere else, I'm not sold. O-line, not good. Defense, atrocious. So I think they're going to get blown out by Kansas City. I think they'll get swept by both Kansas City and the Chargers, to be honest with you. And they'll tail off in December, and they're going to have to do some real roster reconstruction. So your thoughts on my predictions for the AFC West?
Well, I'll say this. Last week when I did my AFC West predictions, I actually had the Raiders at number 2.
Wow.
Okay. That's going to blow a lot of people's mind. And trust me, I've been documented. I do not like the Raiders. I live here in the city. I don't appreciate them here in my city, but I had them number 2, but to go over everything before I get to the Raiders, I'll say this. I had the Chiefs number 1, Raiders 2, Chargers 3, and Broncos finishing last in the division. I'm not going to say much about the Chiefs. We already know about the Chiefs. Okay, we're done with them. The Raiders, to me, are very interesting. A lot of Raider fans, especially around here in Las Vegas, they feel like Derek Carr is the problem. I don't think he's the problem. I think he's, like you said, you're one of their only saving graces that they have. He is a very good quarterback. He don't get enough credit just because he's on a crappy team for the most part of his career. You know, I do like Darren Waller. Josh Jacobs is a tremendous running back. Their O-line will be a little bit better this year. You know, they got rid of some dead weight. They added some other pieces. They drafted the kid out of Alabama. I forgot his name. Alex Leatherwood.
Yep.
You know, so their defense is what's going to have to make the jump for them. And I think they will get a little bit better. They have addressed some of the needs there on defense. Now, they just need to be a middle of the road defense. I think if they're middle of the road, they can easily be second in this division. And that's why I picked them at number 2, because my number 3 pick, the Chargers, which I was close to putting at number 2, but for me, the Chargers are always hurt, man. You got Derwin James, who has not played a full season since being in the National Football League. You know, you got guys like Joey Bosa, who had a nagging injury towards the end of last year as well. He missed a significant amount of time. And there's games where we're watching, it's like 3rd and long, and he's on the bench. Why? Because he's hurt. You know, Justin Herbert, you know, he's a great quarterback. I want to see him repeat it again. Like, this is his sophomore season. Now there's film on him. You know, rookie head coach, even though I do like the coaching pick, but still an unknown. Like, he was a defensive guy, if I'm not mistaken, right? With the Rams last year, he was a defensive, right? So, you know, how's that going to work out again? You know, we've seen that time and time again. Defensive guys that become head coaches, it really doesn't end up working out. And, you know, and lastly, you know, Keenan Allen, another guy that's always hurt. So injuries to me really weighed on my decision, whereas the Raiders guys, for the most part, their guys are pretty healthy. They're their main guys. But to me, the Chargers' main guys they simply are just always hurt. And don't be surprised if Derwin James is out again this year. And that's sad, because he's a tremendous player. And that's why I kind of flipped them, you know. And then the Broncos, to me, you know, they screwed it up in the draft. They should have taken Justin Fields instead of a cornerback. Like, you already had a somewhat decent defense, at least your secondary. You have an opportunity to go and get a franchise quarterback, and you take a cornerback. I think that's going to haunt them here, you know, down the line, because you end up going with Teddy Bridgewater, who is not the final solution. He's not, you know, he's literally a bridge, you know, no pun intended. So that's the reason why I kind of went the way I went with, you know, the Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos.
You make excellent points for sure. And then that is definitely a concern for the Chargers is injuries. But I do look at the fact that, you know, defensively, despite the injuries, despite obviously Derwin James unfortunately being out yet again, Joey Bosa is a monster. You know, you're looking at some of the guys they added to that defense in the draft and and free agency. I like him just for the fact that, like we talked about to start the show, it is a quarterback's league, right? And if you have that guy, which the Chargers clearly do, you can go places. I'm not saying Super Bowl, but you know they can certainly make that jump. And I agree with you. I was stunned the Broncos didn't take a quarterback in the first 10 picks, whether it was Justin Fields or even Mac Jones.
Right.
I feel like you just got to address that position. You know, they didn't necessarily need Surtain. He's good. I think he's going to be really good in this league, but they didn't need him. It wasn't a position of need. Okay, so that's my AFC division by division predictions. I'm going to go ahead and put us both on the screen here just for a second, because next up is the NFC, and we're going to start with the NFC East.
All right.
We are both long-suffering, you more than I, Dallas Cowboy fans. For the podcast audience, Ryan's got a Cowboys wallpaper, I guess you could call it, behind him. And I've, of course, got my Dak Prescott jersey, which I have not worn the show since he signed that big contract. So, okay, here you go. NFC East, call me delusional, do whatever you want. The Dallas Cowboys will win the NFC East with a record of 12-5. The schedule toward the middle is tough. And they finished with a lot of division games at the end. But early on, it's especially the first 3 home games, is Dallas should win all 3. They obviously start with the defending champs. It doesn't get harder than that. They go at the Chargers. Not going to be an easy game whatsoever. Then they got 3 straight against Philly and Carolina, who's rebuilding, and the Giants, who I don't love. So I think Dallas wins this division fairly comfortably, 12-5. Second in the division, I got the New York Giants, 8-9. They've got an excellent roster. Defense caught everybody, including myself, off guard last year. Joe Judge has proved himself to be a good head coach. I thought he'd be kind of in over his head, but thus far, pretty good.
Right.
You look at the receiving talent they have. You look at Kenny Galladay. They added Tony out of Florida in the draft. You look at Sterling Shepard. I mean, Evan Ingram, if he could catch, they've got a really good roster offensively. And Saquon Barkley is going to come back, and we'll of course see how healthy he is. And the offensive line is good, not great. The only concern is Danny Dimes, Danny Pennies, whatever you want to call him, Daniel Jones. Every season, man, he's got a bad case of the fumbles. I mean, it is every game he makes a mistake that you're like, what the heck are you doing? And so I think that's ultimately going to cost the Giants in the end. I've got the Washington football team at 3. I don't like Washington at all this year. Ironically, they actually win one more game this year than they did last year at 8-9, but 7-9 was enough to win that crappy division last year.
Right.
They're a quarterback away, just like the Giants, in my view. Defense, I don't need to say anything about their defense. It's ridiculous. Offensively, you've got some really good skill position players like Terry McLaurin. Antonio Gibson had an excellent rookie year last year. O-line's good. But Ryan Fitzpatrick's your quarterback, and there's a reason he's on his 9th team.
Right.
You look at week in and week out, he could look like Patrick Mahomes one week and Nathan Peterman the next. You don't know what you're getting from Ryan Fitzpatrick in I guess this is year 17, team 9. I think that's going to cost them in the end. And the Philadelphia Eagles are at 4th. It's not because I hate the Eagles. It's because they're poorly run, which is weird to say because just 2-3 years ago, it seemed like they won the Super Bowl. And they looked like they were one of the best run organizations in the league.
Right.
And, the head coaching hire I didn't like at all. Nick Sirianni.
No, me neither.
Jalen Hurts, I like him, don't love him. Accuracy is a real problem. He had a lot of turnovers last year in the games that he did start. So this is just a bad roster. It's a bad team. It's bad coaching. And I think they only win 4 games. Your thoughts on my NFC East predictions, Ryan?
I like it. I just had the Giants and the Washington football team flipped, but Cowboys are definitely winning this division. I'm watching a lot of these talk shows, and a lot of people like the Washington football team winning the division. I'm like, how? Like, I get it. Their defensive line is elite. Don't get me wrong, but it should be. They spent like 8 years developing that defensive line. Okay. Again, quarterback play, it comes down. We have the best quarterback in the division, period.
Without a question.
That's it. Like Dak is worth a bunch of wins. Okay. Because even last year, right? We didn't have a great season. Even when we had Ben DiNucci and Gilbert and Dalton, like they still were competing for a playoff. Granted, it was, they were in the NFC East and the division sucked, but they were in a lot of games. I don't recall the Cowboys getting blown out in a lot of games. What it came down to was that they couldn't score when they needed to score. And I think with Dak being back now, and let me address this about his injury, because a lot of people have been doing this too. Oh, we don't know. He's missing preseason. Who cares?
Talk to him, Ryan.
Who cares? A lot of teams don't even play their guys, okay? Dak Prescott has been in the league long enough. He's been with the same offensive coordinator, all right? He knows the plays, all right? I get it. People want to maybe come out and see him throw, whatever. But no one says anything when these other guys don't play, and it's just fine. But it just seems like when it's Dak Prescott or anybody on the Cowboys, they have to elevate or escalate the situation a lot more. Dak Prescott will be fine. He'll be fine. Yes, he had this whatever problem going on with his shoulder or under his shoulder. He's all right. All right. And I think there was a lot of speculation and he won't play. If you don't know Dak Prescott, this guy has battled back from so many adversities in his life.
He's a warrior, man.
To college, even in the NFL with this leg injury. This is one guy you do not want to bet against. And I think people don't understand that. So they just think, oh, well, he's going to fold. This guy will not fold. He is worth all the money that he was paid. And I've been one of the biggest advocates of that just because of who he plays for. It's not easy playing for the Dallas Cowboys. It's not like he's playing for the Carolina Panthers. This is the most valued franchise in sports history. Okay. And you being it's a couple, and I'm sorry, I'm digressing, but this really, really chaps me. It's a couple positions in sports that adds a little bit more pressure. Quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, shortstop for the New York Yankees, center for the Los Angeles Lakers, midfield for like Manchester United or Manchester. These are positions that people, it's a lot more added pressure to that. And I think
transcend the player.
Exactly. Thank you. And with Dak Prescott, I think he's more than capable of handling all the pressure. It's not easy playing for Jerry Jones. We all know Jerry Jones as an owner is a meddler. He likes the spotlight, of course.
Yep.
He's not like other owners that just make decisions and sits in the back room somewhere. So it's hard. And he has to deal with all of this on a daily basis. It's not like he gets to come to work, just be a quarterback in the National Football League. You're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. I don't care if we've not won a Super Bowl in 20-something years. They're still America's team. Why? Because if you turn on the TV every morning on ESPN or First Take or anywhere else, who are they talking about? The Dallas Cowboys. And that's why they're America's team. Whether they've won or not, that's why they're America's team. And you can talk trash if you want to. It is what it is. But back to the picks. I'm sorry because I get all hot for that.
No, that was, man, you gave it to the people, man.
I had to because I'm sick and tired of hearing about that. And believe me, mark my words, and I'll come on here if he sucks this year. Dak Prescott will have a tremendous year, And people watching the Hard Knocks, I've never got to really see him behind the scenes like that. I think a couple years ago, I think Amazon did like a
they did
similar
in
to Hard Knocks, right?
Right.
Yeah, yes, there we go.
It was All or Nothing is what it was called.
All or Nothing. That's right. And that was like his rookie year, if I'm not mistaken. So
second year.
He didn't have like a voice yet. Now you see him, he's a confident leader. Like he's a guy, I can see why those guys are behind him like that. And you don't get quarterbacks like that come often like that. Like he's a very vocal leader. He's a guy that will lead this team to victories. And I can see them easily going 12-5 this year. And as far as the Giants are concerned, I'll go with Washington football team because that was my second pick here. Their D-line is great. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's all right. This is his 15th team already. Ron Rivera is a good coach. It was a toss-up. I like them a little bit more than the Giants because, again, the Giants have injuries as well. We don't know how good Saquon is going to be again. I'm not going to say he's going to fall off all the way, but they're only going to go as far as Saquon will take them. Now, I think this week he just returned to practice full contact. He may or may not play week 1. So just to say he doesn't play week 1, they're probably going to lose because the guy that they drafted out of Florida, Tony, I think he's missed a lot of training camp. Like you said, Evan Ingram can't catch a cold. Who else? Kenny Galladay. We're gonna see how he is. I think he's been hurt too. And Sterling Shepard is like the only remaining guy that's been there who's been pretty much consistent. We'll see how he does. Their defense is good. I will say that. But you got to score in the National Football League. And I just don't see where their offense is going to come from without Saquon Barkley. And then finally, the Eagles, that's a dumpster fire. Nick Sirianni, I don't know how the heck he got a coaching job, literally. And Colin Cowherd talked about this the other day. I'm big on press conferences and the tone that you set. Because here's the thing, and he made a great analogy. If you're flying anywhere, whether it's international, domestic, whatever, and your pilot gets on the phone and he does not sound competent, how does that make you feel? I would feel a little bit nervous, right? Or you walk into a doctor's office and you got a serious illness and the doctor is fumbling or just making random comments. That I wouldn't feel that confident. And to me, that's what Nick Sirianni is. He's just not. He doesn't seem competent. Like obviously he's in the National Football League. He's a coach, right? I get that. But to be the head guy, I just don't see it. And honestly, where's the offense going to come from the Philadelphia Eagles? They drafted Devontae Smith. He's probably going to end up getting hurt again, getting hurt somewhere. The other guy they drafted last year, Jalen Reagor, I believe, out of TCU. He was hurt. They're probably going to moving on Zach Ertz eventually. So where's their running game going to come from? I don't see any offense coming from this team. Their best player literally is Fletcher Cox, and Fletcher Cox is past his prime. So that's where we're at with the NFC East.
Yeah. It is.
Sorry, I went on a tangent there.
No, man, I agree with you. Starting with, I guess, what you were talking about with Dak, and obviously that's been pretty much the main topic on the show for the last 2 weeks. And I've said that I'm not trying to. I don't want to bash national media and say, oh, they're just terrible at their jobs, because that's obviously not the case.
Right.
But I felt like it was being overblown a little bit about the shoulder because Jerry Jones, we know him. He is after games, he is Mr. Flip Flop.
Yep.
They beat an average team and they crush an average team. We're going to the Super Bowl. And then if they get beat by Kansas City or something in week 11, I paid too much for this team to be this bad. Yeah, I mean he's flip flop. That's not been the case with this injury. That's the same. Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore had a quote the other day, said he's cutting it loose. We're letting him go. And we've seen some of the tape in Hard Knocks that. He's cutting it loose. He's thrown with full strength. And I agree with you. He's going to have an unbelievable season, and ultimately, he's the great equalizer in this division. So I agree with you. Enough with our Cowboy bias. Let's go to the NFC South, and again, whoever wins this division is not a shock. The Tampa Bay Bucks are going to win. I got them going 15-2. I think, like you said earlier in the show, undefeated is a little bit unrealistic. They do play some tough teams on the schedule, the Rams and the Colts and teams like that, the Bills. So I think there are going to be plenty of challenges. But again, I've said it numerous times on my show. I even said it after the Super Bowl before free agency even started. You're talking about a team it's now going to get an offseason. It has gotten an offseason.
Right.
It's gotten a training camp. It's gotten preseason games. And they got everybody back. Everybody. All 22 starters. Hasn't been done in 42 years. And so when you're, add to it that they're in a division that's not great, a lot of rebuilding teams in there, they're going to win this division. It's not even going to be a contest. I got the Carolina Panthers in second. Only issue I have with the Panthers really is their defense. Right. They're still rebuilding there. Sam Darnold is an upgrade from Teddy Bridgewater. People diss Sam Darnold all the time, and my argument was every quarterback looks bad with Adam Gase. Look at Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill looks like a dumpster fire with Adam Gase.
Right.
He goes to Tennessee, and he's a Pro Bowler. I mean, Adam Gase is the ultimate, Adam Gase, where quarterback talent goes to die. I mean, that's how it goes. So he goes to Carolina. He's with Matt Rule. He's with Joe Brady. For those of you that don't know, Joe Brady happened to be the passing game coordinator for the LSU Tigers when Joe Burrow threw 60 touchdown passes.
Right.
So, he played a big part in that. So he's there to help Sam Darnold. You've got Christian McCaffrey coming back, who's just unbelievable. He's the best all-around player you could argue in the NFL. You look at, offensive line's good. You look at DJ Moore. You look at Robbie Anderson. This is a really, really good offensive team that they have. It's just defensively, I think that's going to, lose them a lot of games. I've got the Saints at 6-11. First of all, their schedule's brutal. You're talking about a team that is going to have to start their season away from New Orleans.
Yeah.
And again, our thoughts and prayers are with the city of New Orleans right now and what they're going through. But, they're having to play week 1 in Jacksonville against the Packers. Drew Brees' leadership gone. You got the Michael Thomas issue. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the organization. The defense isn't going to be as good, despite the fact they still have what's the pass rusher's name? Cam Jordan. They still got him. They still got Sean Payton. And I think Jameis Winston could have a decent year, and maybe they're a French playoff team. I don't know. But I think this is definitely a rebuilding year for the Saints. And then at 4, I've got the Atlanta Falcons at 5-12. Listen, just like the Panthers, offensively, that's not an issue. Matt Ryan is an excellent quarterback, regardless of what people will tell you. He's good. He's as good as they come. Yeah, Kyle Pitts. Yes, you lost Julio Jones, but you still got Calvin Ridley, who had 1,000 yards last year. Russell Gage is a good slot receiver.
Yep.
They're good offensively. But kind of like the Raiders, who we talked about earlier, their defense is just, it's hard to watch. And they lost some starters from that defense. So I think this could once again be yet another long year for the Falcons. They're going to be the best bad team in the NFL to watch. They're going to be really fun to watch. They'll probably blow some leads in there. Classic Atlanta Falcons. But your thoughts on my predictions for the NFC South?
I mean, yeah, Tampa Bay number 1 for sure. This is a little surprise, kind of like my AFC West. I like the Falcons. I think the Falcons will bounce back. I think they were in a lot of close games last year that they probably should have won. And I think they're gonna fix those problems. They got a new head coach. Maybe a new system, a new way of doing things, just kind of refreshing everything. I think they're going to be one of those surprising teams. So I have them finishing number 2 in the South. I actually still have the Saints at 3, and I have Carolina still at last, man. And it was close because I don't want to go against Sean Payton, so I gave him the edge over Matt Rule, and that's the only reason why. But the Saints for me are still they're in a tough spot. They're in a tough spot because they've. Drew Brees that's a lot of productivity. And I get it. He wasn't the same Drew Brees, his last year or so, but he's gone. And can Jameis Winston kind of fill his shoes a little bit? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. He's one of those other guys too that I don't trust him. And it ain't because of some of his play. It's just some of the stuff that he does. You seen that video of him one day trying to run through like the running backs machine?
Yes, I saw that.
and I get it. I know that sounds so stupid. But it's like, I don't know, man. Obviously he should have been picked the starter over Taysom Hill.
Yes.
He's an NFL quarterback. Taysom Hill, he's a nice player, but he's not a starting quarterback in the National Football League. Period. Okay. But like you said, Michael Thomas, I think he's going to be missing significant time, at least the first couple weeks or so. Where Alvin Kamara is nice, but really he's not a top 5 back in the National Football League, I wouldn't say. Their defense, yeah, Cameron Jordan, I wouldn't say he's in his prime or past his prime, but they don't have a lot of other pieces. And I think that mystique of them being in New Orleans, that, when you go to the Mercedes Dome, it used to put the fear in people. And I don't think it does that anymore for most people anymore, especially now. But who knows? Maybe they'll get things right. And then as far as the Panthers being last, I like Sam Darnold. I do. I don't know if the talent on the off. I like DJ Moore. He's a good player, but to me, DJ Moore and what was the other guy?
Robbie Anderson.
They're not number ones.
True.
Like, I don't think they have a true number one receiver, because there's games where DJ Moore, I don't even see him. He disappears, right? Christian McCaffrey, another injury type of guy. Is he going to play a full season? And if he does, great. Then, maybe they might do something. But overall, their defense really isn't that great either. So that's why I had them at 4. But watch out for the Falcons. I think the Falcons will surprise a lot of people. And I haven't even looked at their schedule yet, but I think they will surprise a lot of people. Matt Ryan does not get a lot of credit. I think people talk a lot of crap about him. He can still play pretty good football, considering he's one of a dying breed, standing there quarterback, says he ain't running. He's not a mobile guy.
No.
So, but like you said, Julio Jones, to me, when they lost him, I was like, you know what? It's not a big loss, because he missed like 8 games last year anyway, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And then you add Kyle Pitts, which I did this a couple months ago, a feature on tight ends, where tight ends are they're not your same tight ends your daddy used to watch.
Yep.
Okay. They're totally different. They control the middle of the field. And if you got a guy like Kyle Pitts or Travis Kelce, George Kittle, guys like that, Darren Waller, they're playmakers, and you can line them up at receiver. You can move them around. Hell, you could probably even use them on an end around. So they're not like Jay Novacek or Tony Gonzalez, these types of big burly guys. Like, they're a lot different. And I don't know who's their running back there now. Todd Gurley's a free agent, so I'm not sure who they got in the backfield there. But again, in the National Football League, you don't have to necessarily have to have a premier running back. You just need to be able to run the football when you need to run the football. So that's why I kind of like the Falcons in number 2.
Well, I think like you said, it's more of in this NFL today, unless you do have a Derrick Henry or a Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara or somebody, most teams do go running back by committee. And, like you said, that's one of the things I worry about with the Falcons is they likely have a lack of running game. And so Matt Ryan's going to have to throw for 400 yards a game. He's probably going to lead the league in passing with this offense, because they're going to be trailing a lot. And so that's the only thing that worried me with Atlanta. I do like Arthur Smith. I do think he can be a good head coach in this league, but I think this is definitely going to be a learning year for everybody. So let's look at the team I think is going to have the worst division in the conference. That's the NFC North.
Yeah.
I've got the Green Bay Packers winning the division 10-7. Now, before people freak out, I actually predicted the Packers' schedule last week. Their schedule has to be the hardest in the NFL. I haven't checked tough. Who's got the most difficult. It is brutal, ladies and gentlemen. So I've got the Packers winning the division because they've got one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play, Aaron Rodgers. You bring back Devontae Adams. You bring Aaron Jones back. They did, lose some guys in the offensive line, which is really big. David Bakhtiari's coming off of an injury. You look at, Randall Cobb. He's not the Randall Cobb of 2014. I mean, he's pretty much washed. So, and then defensively, I have major questions. This is a team that in close games really couldn't get stops, despite having, Jair Alexander, who's one of the best corners in the league. You look at, the Smith brothers rushing the passer. They tend to get a little quiet, late in games. So, and Matt LaFleur, I've never been huge on. So the Packers won the division because they had the best team and the best quarterback without a question. I've got Minnesota second at 7-10. I think that the defense I have questions about, offensively, you've got Dalvin Cook, you've got Justin Jefferson, but you lost Kyle Rudolph. Thielen, yeah, but you lost Kyle Rudolph, who was a good red zone target. You lost other guys. And kind of going back to a point you made about Lamar Jackson, that I think is certainly fair. Kirk Cousins, vaccine, like if he gets COVID, you're going to have to go to a rookie, Kellen Mond, and I don't think they're going to feel too confident
Not
about
ready
that.
for him.
So I'm not big on Minnesota this year as I was last year. I've got the Bears third at 7-10. I think Andy Dalton's on a short leash. I think Justin Fields is going to start the majority of their games this year. But again, for him, as it is going to be for a lot of rookie quarterbacks, it's going to be a learning curve. It's going to be, if my thing is, even with the Bears going 7-10, I still think Matt Nagy keeps his job. Maybe not Ryan Pace, the GM, who I'm not as big on. But
Right.
if they can show that they can hang with the best teams in the league, they can hang with the Green Bays, which they haven't been able to do the last couple of years, and Justin Fields shows that he's a franchise quarterback, then I think Matt Nagy gets one more year. So I think that's what's going to end up happening. But sorry, Bears fans, no playoffs this year. And then the Detroit Lions, biting kneecaps, they're going to go 2-15. They're awful. I hate the Penei Sewell, who I love coming out of the draft. I hate that he had to go to this organization.
I know.
Jared Goff struggled with a loaded Rams roster. So what's he going to do in Detroit? So, this is just, I'm going to see if I can get the picture pulled up super duper fast for the stream of Dan Campbell wearing a helmet. Sorry for the podcast audience. But that's kind of the reality of the Detroit Lions. Your thoughts?
I agree 100% on your picks on this one. Green Bay, they got the best quarterback in the division, hands down. The Vikings, your points were very valid. Again, they re-signed Harrison Smith. Okay, that's great, but
he's older.
You need an edge rusher. If you're gonna play against the best quarterback in the division, hell, actually he's technically the best quarterback in the league right now, I guess, because he won the MVP or whatever, or best player in the league. You better find someone that can get after him. And they don't have. I mean, they brought back Everson Griffin, which that's a wash. Whatever.
Yeah, he's older.
He's older now, and then the Bears. I don't understand. Why not just put Justin Fields in? If the New England Patriots are going to play Mac Jones, Cam Newton's better than Andy Dalton, or at least they're the same, right? I would say, right?
Sure. Yeah, I think Cam's better.
Right. So why would you not put Justin Fields in? I just don't understand. I think he gives them more juice. Like because it's a running ability. Now you don't want him running around all day because he's not fast like Lamar Jackson, but I feel like he when things break down, because their offensive line is not good at all.
No, it's not.
Like, it sucks, and that could be part of the reason why they don't want to put him out there early. But maybe that's part of the reason why you do put him out there early, because Andy Dalton's not moving around in that pocket no time soon. Their defense is still, is it elite? Yeah, I would say they're pretty good. They're at least a top 10 defense.
It's top 10, yeah.
Top 10 at least, because they can get after the quarterback. But where's their offense going to come from? I do like Allen Robinson, but I just don't like Andy Dalton being the starter. I think Justin Fields needs to get the start, and they need to just move forward with that. And just have Andy Dalton back up Justin Fields. I think I've been very pro young quarterbacks playing early,
right?
And because I follow this closely, because I do coach youth sports and I follow high school and college very closely, there's a lot of training and other extracurricular stuff these quarterbacks have nowadays that maybe quarterbacks didn't have back then. Now every now and then you get lucky and Patrick Mahomes gets to sit. Who else? Aaron Rodgers sat when he first came in the league. But if you see more often than not now, guys can come into the National Football League and have pretty success early on. Like, you can see it early on in in years past. And I can see Justin Fields doing something in this league. So why not let him get, the starting job? But anyway, and then the Lions, like, I don't even want to talk about them. They suck. They just suck. I mean, all these other great candidates they had for coaching for this job, and you go with Dan Campbell. Like, I just don't understand that pick. The guy, was an assistant. He's a tight end, I think, in the National Football League.
He was.
He bounced around a little bit. He was on Miami staff. I think he coached on the Cowboys as well, too, if I'm not mistaken. Then out of nowhere, he gets this head coaching job, and I'm just like, wow, like, okay. Like, him and Nick Sirianni, they must have the same agent, because
clearly
they got hooked up. And I'm not saying this is a great job, because maybe those other guys that were really good candidates were like, we don't want to go to the Lions. And maybe that's why they chose Dan Campbell, because he doesn't care. He's trying to make his name so he can get on the WWE roster Stuff like that. So, but yeah, I totally agree with these picks on this one.
Yeah, and one last point about Dan Campbell. I don't want to. I don't want to be too brutal on him, but I mean, we're talking about a guy who a couple of weeks ago released the long snapper on his 40th birthday.
Right.
Could you wait a couple days or do it a couple days earlier? A couple days
next day,
come
at least,
on,
right? I mean, and the guy been there for like years.
Yeah, I'm not against them cutting him. I'm not, but if you're gonna do it, at least have the self-awareness to know it's the man's birthday, 40th birthday for that matter. Like let him have his day. So, but
and that's the problem with the Lions, because look, we're talking about him releasing a snapper, and why? Because of how he did it.
We're talking way too much about the Lions right now. But
yeah, let's move on.
Way more than they deserve. But that's the thing about Chicago. I think I would say my gut feeling is the number one reason that they're starting Andy Dalton week 1. They're playing the Los Angeles Rams in that defensive line. They don't want Justin Fields to come in, get beat up, maybe have his confidence, damaged slightly. Not he's not going to like hurt his career or anything, but you don't want to go in, your quarterback gets sacked 6 times, and hurt his confidence early on in the season.
Yeah,
I like Allen Robinson. Go ahead.
No, I get that, but like, look, he played at Ohio State. He played at Georgia. He's used to playing against fierce pass rushers. I'm not saying that those college teams are as good as NFL teams, but that's what I'm saying. Like, we just need to take the silver spoon out of some guy's mouth and just let him get out there and play. Because look, he's got to play eventually at some point. So you need to. I would rather see him play against a team like that than play the Lions, because that could be a false tense. Like, we'd be like, oh well, he did good against. Well, yeah, anybody. I mean, hell, you and I can do good against the Detroit Lions. So if he does well, or if they lose but it's close and he battles back, like, it takes me back to that playoff game that he had against Clemson, right? He got battered, had the broken ribs. He got hit, and he played through that. That showed me a lot about him. I'm not saying that that would translate in the NFL, but at least it showed me that he's tough. He can grit it out. And I would love to see him against the Rams. Yeah, I would love to see him running around that defense, because he can run, because look, Andy Dalton's going to get pummeled by Aaron Donald. He's going to get pummeled, because that line isn't good. So that's one reason why I want him to start, because it's more exciting for me as a consumer versus Andy. Like, I'm not going to get, is that a Monday night game too, if I'm not mistaken?
That's the Sunday night game.
Like, I'm not getting hyped up to see Andy Dalton. Like, I don't care to see Andy Dalton. I would rather see Justin Fields, and I think that's why they just need to give me that as a consumer.
Yeah, no, it definitely make that matchup more interesting. With Matthew Stafford's first game is with the Rams. You got Justin Fields. I mean, that'd have been must see TV, and I'm still definitely going to watch, because it's Matthew Stafford.
I mean, Sunday Night Football. Yeah,
you said Sunday Night Football, so that'll be interesting. Okay, final division prediction, and it's fitting we finished with the best division in the National Football League, the NFC West. Here you go. These records are going to pop off everywhere. You've got the Rams. I got the Rams winning the division at 14-3. The roster's unbelievable. Obviously, they lost Cam Akers during training camp, which hurt, but they got Sony Michel in a trade with the Patriots, which was big bounce back. You're talking about think about the Rams for a second. They had Jared Goff, and they benched him, or excuse me, he got hurt in week 16. They went with, I can't remember the guy's name, who started in week 17 and in the wild card game against
Heineke.
Heineke was in Washington.
Oh no,
Heineke was in Washington, but
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I forgot the guy's name too.
John Wolford. Wolford, was that his name?
Yeah, Wolford. Yeah, yep. Mm-hmm.
He started. He gets hurt against the Seahawks. Goff comes in and they win that game, and they gave Green Bay a run for their money.
They did,
with an inconsistent Jared Goff with a broken right wrist, his throwing wrist. So I look at adding Matthew Stafford, and just like Carson Wentz, we've talked about it. It's put up or shut up time.
Yep.
Because either it's you were bad, or not you were bad, but you didn't win a lot because you were with a crappy organization, or you're just one of those quarterbacks who can't win the big game and just puts up really, really interesting stats, really good stats. So I've heard him called Stat Padford. So he's got an opportunity to prove that wrong. He's got the running game, O-line, amazing receiving core. He definitely has the defense, number 1 in the league last year. Sean McVay's his head coach. Special teams is great. I mean, the only bad thing is that he's in the best division in football, but he should be able to win this thing. As great as the division is, he should be able to win. I've got the San Francisco 49ers with the same record, 14-3. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to start the whole season, and that might be a gamble because of his injury history. But I think about the last time he did start the whole year, 13-3, went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I look at everybody's coming back healthy. That defensive line is going to be back. You look at, Deebo Samuel's going to be back healthy.
Yep.
You've got Brandon Ayuk. I love that kid out of Arizona State. George Kittle's back. So, and we all know Kyle Shanahan's an excellent coach with Jimmy G in the lineup, and he's a run-first coach. So Jimmy G isn't going to be asked to carry the team like, say, a Matt Ryan in Atlanta. And so when you look at this, I say Jimmy G's going to be playing with a lot of leads. And not only is that good for the 49ers because he can't make that many mistakes, it's huge for their defense because then you can just let those pass rushers loose. And so I think the Niners are going to have a great year. I got Seahawks finishing third at 12-5. Russell is going to have another excellent season. I hope he doesn't kind of tail off like he did at the end of last year after getting out to that historic start at the beginning of 2020. But they upgraded the offensive line. They got a legit tight end. And, defensively is my only concern. Outside of Jamal Adams, not that many playmakers on that Seahawks defense. So I think that'll cost them in the end. And I got the Cardinals at 10-7. Listen, they had a good offseason as well. You had J.J. Watt, A.J. Green, albeit out of their primes without a question, but they can still play. And you had veteran leadership. Kyler Murray, I think this is his year where he gets in the playoffs. And so there you go. My NFC West predictions. Your thoughts?
I agree 100% on this one. This division, not only is it the best division, it's arguably probably the most exciting division to watch. Mm-hmm. I can literally watch all these teams outside of my Cowboys. Like, they all have players that I want to see. I love the schemes from a lot of these teams. They're very exciting. It's a good, fun brand of football. Everything you said about the Rams, completely true. I agree with everything there. The Niners, the only thing I want to see with the Niners, I would like to see Trey Lance get the start, just because I feel like he adds a little bit more to the offense, because now if I'm on the defensive side of the ball, I have to be on the lookout for him running the football a little bit. And I think that adds a little bit more excitement, adds a little bit more flair, something that you have to consider about. And then the Seahawks, I mean, again, Russell Wilson, he's going to start off hot. And again, I think he might tail off again. And he's done that, I want to say, the last 2 seasons, where he was like the MVP in the first couple weeks. And then the end of the season, you're like, well, what happened to the guy? And there's some problems going on in Seattle too, as well, with some of the players and how they feel. I think definitely there's some type of what's the word? Not a distraction, but there's animosity. Thank you. Animosity within the players, with Russell Wilson, and then some of the other players just with management alone. You got guys, not calling out people, but they want to sit out because they want more money. I mean, we saw how Russell Wilson handled what he did in the offseason as well. So there's some things going on there. And I don't know if that's because of the environment. I've followed Pete Carroll for quite some time, being, a resident of Los Angeles, and, watching him coach USC. He has like a very hey, just speak up and say what you want to say type of, policy there. Right. And it worked for them, because you had guys like Richard Sherman, who was very vocal, and after a while, it's cool, but then it comes to a point where it gets old. And so now I feel like, I don't know if Russell Wilson has a great relationship with his teammates. And I don't know if they really like him like that. They like him because he's a great quarterback, but I don't know if they like him like that. I don't think a lot of these guys would go through a brick wall for him, and like I said, I don't know. I'm not in Seattle. I don't know the full extent, but just from where I'm at, from where I'm seeing, I just don't. There's something not clicking there. And Pete Carroll might be on the way out there soon, even with a 12-5 record. Who knows? I don't know, but they're still good enough to finish third in that division. And then the Cardinals. I love Kyler Murray. When they drafted him, I was so excited. I even considered getting season tickets to the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, and even though I'm a Cowboys fan, but they're like 4 hours away from me. I was like, I'll make that drive to watch a guy like that. I'm not sold on Cliff Kingsbury yet. Maybe this is his third season,
year.
right? Third year. We're going to see. This team needs to make the playoffs for me to kind of feel like Cliff Kingsbury is the guy. They do have some pieces, but they're in a tough division. But I would say these 4 teams should make the playoffs. For sure. I think this is how good this division is. My problem with Arizona is that, can they win on the road? They're good at home. That's a great home field advantage environment, but I've seen them go on the road some places, and they're like not even the same team. Can they get past that? We'll have to wait and see. But I agree, 1 through 4, this is how I would pick it.
There you go. I think we pretty much agree in the NFC West. So,
Yep.
real
Oh,
quick.
I'm sorry. And one more thing to add.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. And this goes back to Dak Prescott and him not playing in the preseason. If I'm not mistaken, did Matthew Stafford play in the preseason?
Nope.
Okay.
Did
And he's
Russell
going to
Wilson
a new
play?
team.
Did
Okay.
Russell Wilson play in the preseason, Ryan Flowers?
Exactly. No, he did not. So,
Okay.
so people get off of that. Thank you. That's my
Yes.
PSA.
There you go. All right. Before we get into awards and playoff predictions, let me go ahead and put up, because in case you weren't following, okay, who made the playoffs, who didn't. I'll put up the AFC first, 1 through 7. So the Kansas City Chiefs are the 1 seed. Bills, I'm going to go 1 through 7. Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Colts, Browns, Chargers, Dolphins. I think those 7 teams get in. The Chargers are kind of my sleeper team. I think they could, who knows, we'll see upcoming. Could they possibly pull off a first round upset of the Baltimore Ravens? You look at the Cleveland Browns coming in, and they're certainly, I would favor them to beat the Colts. You look at Miami, division rival with the Bills. So I feel like all 3 wild card teams, listen, it's one game. It's a game 7.
Right.
60 minutes, maybe catch them off guard. Your thoughts on my playoff predictions? How do they kind of line up where you thought?
For the most part, I have the Raiders getting in, and then I have the Titans getting in.
Okay.
That's the only difference.
Okay, it's the only difference. Okay, so there's the AFC playoff predictions. Let's go to now the NFC. 1 through 7, Bucks, Rams, Cowboys, Packers, Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals. Every team in the NFC West gets in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever been done before in NFL history. I think it's going to happen. It was kind of impossible for it to ever happen because of 6 playoff teams. Now there's 7, 3 wild card teams can get in. I think the Bucks and the Rams are the class of the NFC. Cowboys and Packers and Seahawks are kind of a step below that. And you look at the Niners. I actually put that wrong. I apologize to the audience. I actually had the Niners at 6 or at 5 and the Seahawks at 6. So I kind of messed up that graphic a little bit. My bad.
No
but your thoughts on that?
I agree. These are the best teams in the NFC. Period. This is what the NFC has to offer. So I don't disagree with any of these picks. Like you said, the NFC West is loaded. That's a good division. It'd be a shame if all those teams, or one of those teams, did not make the playoffs. But the only team I can see not making the playoffs out of the division is probably the Cardinals, because maybe they have a setback. But they're good enough to make the playoffs, I would say, this year. But other than that, I totally agree.
All right, so if they don't make it, you could see maybe a Minnesota getting in. You could see maybe the New York Giants. Maybe that's a big one.
Or Washington, or somebody.
Washington.
Yeah, but it would be one of these lowly teams.
There's a big gap between the top of the NFC and the bottom. I mean, there's a pretty big separation, and I think you could see that here. So we all know awards are based on regular season only. That can drive us crazy as fans, but that's how it is.
I know, right?
So, Ryan Flowers, are you ready for the awards?
Let's do it, man.
All right, let's do it. Coach of the Year. I've got Brian Flores winning Coach of the Year. You look at what he's done in Miami. He comes in, he only wins 5 games, but they kind of get a little hot at the end of 2019. He has a quarterback back and forth, Fitzpatrick to Tua to Fitzpatrick. I mean, just back and forth, and they still double their wins from 2019 and come on the doorstep of the playoffs before they, of course, got obliterated by Buffalo in Week 17. But they come back. I think Tua's going to have a bounce-back year. I think that defense is once again going to be really good. Special teams is probably top 5 in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
We all know that can win and lose you games sometimes.
Make or break a game, yep.
And so I think Brian Flores he will get the Dolphins into the playoffs and win Coach of the Year. So your thoughts on that? Do you have anybody else you would consider?
I like Kevin Stefanski
again,
and then maybe like a close second, maybe Sean McVay, because of what they're going to be able to do this season. But if I had to pick like a dark horse, maybe a new coach that goes into a new situation, the Falcons coach,
Arthur Smith. Okay.
Arthur Smith. Yep.
Okay.
But no, Brian Flores, that's a great pick. I mean, he's a good coach. He might be one of the only Patriot coaches that will actually have some success in the National Football League. Him and Judge.
Yes, and I'm not skeptical on Judge, but I think we still got to see with him. But what Brian Flores has done with that Dolphins culture is just outstanding. Yep. And you made a great point of the Belichick disciples, if you will. He's been really the only one who succeeded. You look at Andy Reid's coaching tree, and all kinds of coaches have won a ton of games in this league.
Right.
Not necessarily the case with Belichick. So I think Brian Flores wins Coach of the Year. All right, comeback player of the year. This is pretty much a shoe-in. I know you'll agree. Dak Prescott.
Oh yeah.
The man's ankle was snapped in half the 5th game of the year.
Yep.
Okay, there was the contract thing. There was everything. He's carted off the field. He's crying. It's just this horrible scene. He comes back. He rehabs. That ankle is 100% healthy. Guys, the shoulder is fine. Don't worry about that. There's certainly other candidates you could look at for comeback player of the year, maybe a Saquon Barkley. But I look at Dak Prescott. But you're talking about the most important position in the National Football League, arguably in sports, and that's quarterback and
sports, yeah,
and quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys to boot. So you look at the receivers he has: Mari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb. I think is going to have an excellent year.
Oh yeah,
he's going to have. I'm not saying Zeke is going to lead the league in rushing because I don't think he's going to have to, but you're going to get
more productive.
More productive. You get a leaner Zeke. You get a healthier offensive line. And so Dallas wins the division. I think Dak wins comeback player of the year, and I assume you agree.
I agree, and there's no other story. Saquon, yeah, he's good, but Dak Prescott's story is just so much more significant. So
yes,
and I mean Saquon's coming back from a pretty bad injury as well, because he tore ACL, right, or something like that. That used to be death a couple years ago, right? But then we saw like guys like Adrian Peterson bounce back from that. He's still playing. He's still a free agent, right? So, but Dak, basically everything what you said. He's playing for America's team. He's the quarterback for that team. He's the quarterback of the most talked about team in all of sports. He's comeback player of the year easily.
No doubt about it. Okay, now that one you can't say we're biased there. This one you might have to call me biased. I got Micah Parsons winning defensive rookie of the year. This kid is, I said during the draft, I was actually on your draft show back in April.
Yep, I remember. And
when Patrick Surtain was taken, I was like, it's got to be Micah Parsons now. They got to help their defense. Yep. And this guy, when you look at his speed, you look at the fact he can rush the passer.
Yep.
He's decent in zone coverage. He's what I've heard Shannon Sharp say this before. What you want out of a linebacker is he's got to be quick, or he's got to be sudden. He's got to be violent. Well, he's got both of those. And so he's, a year ago, before he sat out at Penn State with COVID issues, he was actually projected to be a top 5 pick.
Right.
But he dropped down to 12. And I think the Cowboys got, one could argue, the best or second best defensive player in the draft. Your thoughts?
Oh, no, I agree. I mean, he should have been a top 5 pick, but because of the draft that he entered into, it was a heavy with quarterbacks. So of course people are going to take quarterbacks over a middle linebacker, of course, you know what I mean? But there's definitely a case between him and Patrick Surtain being defensive player of the year, right? Or excuse me, defensive rookie of the year. But he's going to be involved in a lot more plays than Surtain probably would be because he plays linebacker. He has ability to have more stats, as far as tackles, sacks, things of that nature. And I think he will rush the quarterback. I think Dan Quinn will utilize him because look, this guy, that's what he did in Penn State. He rushed the quarterback. And I think we forgot about him because he didn't play last season for Penn State, just because for obvious reasons. I think, COVID, whatever, he wanted to be safe, but he definitely has an opportunity to come out there and make a statement for the Dallas defense. And honestly, he may push out an existing player for the Dallas Cowboys, like a Jalen Smith or even Van Der Esch, depending on his health and availability.
And that's huge. And I think because of the health of Van Der Esch and because of the steep production decline that we saw Jalen Smith the last couple of years, it seemed like he's completely lost all speed that he had. And so I think Micah Parsons is going to be huge for this defense. And, for the Cowboys, I'm not expecting them to be an elite defense, but I think if they're middle of the road, this is a team that can certainly win a ton of games. And again, I had them winning 12. So there you go. All right. Offensive rookie of the year is coming from a team you like and a team that I'm not as high on, but I think he is a transcendent talent at his position. And that would be Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts wins offensive rookie of the year. We haven't seen this many tight ends come in the league with this much, God-given athletic ability. He's built like a big receiver, almost like a Calvin Johnson per se.
Right.
He runs a 4.4. What is he, 6'6"? I mean, he's huge.
Tall.
Yes, he's tall. He's fast. He's got good hands. He runs really good routes. He's going to be Matt Ryan's best friend pretty quickly. So I think he definitely wins offensive rookie of the year. He could probably break some rookie tight end records in his first season in the NFL. Your thoughts on that? Because I know you liked Najee Harris. So what's your thoughts?
I do like Najee Harris. This one is tough for me.
It is tough.
It is tough because I think Najee will be utilized a lot. But at least Kyle Pitts has a competent quarterback throwing the ball to him, and they're gonna score a lot. And honestly, I wouldn't have mind him in Dallas. Obviously, I had made a video about that. We had talked about that extensively too on my draft coverage that night about him possibly being picked by the Cowboys. But I don't disagree with this pick. I think this is a very outstanding pick. But like I said, it's close between him and Najee Harris. But I'm not gonna disagree with you. I like Najee Harris as well, and I like Kyle Pitts. So I guess I'm kind of neutral.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of tough. I came down to a few people. Justin Fields was in the discussion for me. I thought about possibly, I did think about Najee Harris. I thought about one of my wild cards was Jalen Waddle, because I think Tua's going to have a pretty good season. You got the Alabama connection,
Right,
but I ultimately went with the guy who is probably the most pro-ready player coming out of last year's draft. I mean, he
was the best player in the draft, but
yes,
because
he
was the quarterback position, you can't pass that up. But he was the best player in the draft. Period.
No doubt about it. So, okay, so thus far I got Brian Flores winning Coach of the Year, Dak Prescott winning Comeback Player of the Year, Micah Parsons winning Defensive Rookie of the Year, and Kyle Pitts winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now, let's go to the three big ones. We're going to start with Defensive Player of the Year.
Oof.
I've got Myles Garrett. I thought about Aaron Donald. Obviously, you have to think about Aaron Donald for this award. He's won it, 3 times? He and JJ Watt.
Give it to somebody new.
He's a monster. I had to shake it up a little bit and go with another pass rusher, and that would be Myles Garrett. He's top 3 in the NFL without a question. It's Aaron Donald, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. Those are the 3 best that we have in this league. And you're talking about his quickness. And one of the things that I liked about him and his chances is that the Browns, because of the running game, because of the talent they have on the outside, they're going to be playing with a lot of leads. And so kind of like the 49ers I talked about earlier, he's going to be turned loose, and he very well could lead the league in sacks. I believe he will lead the league in sacks. And again, Browns are going to be a playoff team again. And I think he's Defensive Player of the Year. Your thoughts?
I agree. Just because of that whole fact that they're going to be up a lot and other teams are going to have to pass the ball. Watt, TJ, I like TJ Watt too, though. I really wish we had drafted him instead of Taco Charlton, whatever.
Taco Charlton.
Like, God, what a bust that was. But because of the fact that the Steelers are probably going to be a lot more closer games, he probably won't have the opportunity to pin his ears back and try to get after the quarterback. But I think he will have double-digit sacks. But I think Myles Garrett he's the prototypical pass rusher. I mean, he's big, he's fast, he's quick, he's agile. He definitely for sure. Aaron Donald is a beast. I love Aaron Donald, but it's like let's give it to somebody else at least now. Damn.
Let's see if we can shake it up a little bit. All right, Offensive Player of the Year. Christian McCaffrey wins his second in the last 3 years.
Ooh.
You're talking about the last time he was healthy back in 2019, 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards running the football. He is going to be the primary guy for the Panthers this year. Here's the thing. It's almost sounds like an oxymoron, but he's not going to be relied on as much because, 2019 he had, Kyle Allen. He's got an upgrade at quarterback from then. And so he's going to get the ball a lot more catching it out of the backfield. And so I think his quickness, he's so fast. He's actually more physical than people think, even given his size. Right. He's not a better pure running back than Derrick Henry is, but overall he is a better player. What do you think about this?
I like it, but I like Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray is going to throw a lot and he's going to run a lot. And so I think that's going to put him up there in that echelon of, Offensive Player of the Year, just because he can do a little bit both. He's exciting to watch, but I can see Christian McCaffrey as long as he stays healthy. That's the thing with him. It's availability. So if he can definitely be in the running for that. If I had a top 3, I would say, he was definitely my top 3. Kyler Murray, and then I got to go back with my guy Dak Prescott. I think he's going to throw for a bunch of yards this year, and he's going to set a lot of records. So those will be my top 3 guys.
Okay. Do you have a final decision to make?
A final decision, Kyler Murray, for sure.
Okay, Kyler Murray. Yeah. So he's going Kyler Murray. I'm going with Christian McCaffrey. And now the big one, the one we all talk about every single season. Right. Who's the MVP? It's become almost a quarterback exclusive award at this point. I'm going to go with the guy. He's going to win his second MVP in his career, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it's kind of, I think he's going to possibly threaten Peyton Manning for the most MVPs before it's all said and done, win around 4 or 5. But I think the last 2 years, it's weird to say Patrick Mahomes has been under the radar. It's weird to say that, but I think
Right.
he's going to have something to prove this year. He comes in more motivated coming off of that Super Bowl loss. I pity every team in the NFL that has to play the Kansas City Chiefs next year because he could very well threaten 50 touchdown passes again. It would not shock me in the slightest.
Yep.
Who do you have as the MVP? Do you agree with this, or would you go with
I
somebody
agree.
else?
Mahomes is definitely the front runner. Then Josh Allen, he probably come in
Mm.
there. Dak Prescott, you got to put him in there too as well.
Dang. Okay.
I'm really, and I'm not being a homer. I mean, I keep it real with the Cowboys, but I really feel he reads the press clippings and he hears all the disrespect. And I think that's going to motivate him even more to come out and prove people that, hey, I am that guy, So, but for sure, I mean, it's a drop off. Mahomes is the guy. He's the guy, he's definitely the face of the league. As far as quarterback play is concerned, he's the face of quarterbacking. I mean, really. So, maybe Lamar Jackson steps in there, but I really feel like it's Mahomes, Allen, or maybe maybe a black horse, maybe Matthew Stafford, maybe because of the numbers he might put up in LA. So who knows?
How about Tom Brady?
It's a quarterback award. They just need to say, don't even call it an MVP anymore. Just say it's a quarterback MVP because that's what it is. Quarterbacks will always win this award for the most part. I don't know. Maybe you remember. I don't know. I can't tell you the last person who wasn't a quarterback.
I think it was Adrian Peterson in 2012.
Right. And okay. And arguably that's a good pick because that dude was ridiculous in 2012. I think he rushed for 2,000 yards.
9 yards away from Eric Dickerson's record.
Right. And I think that's the only way guys like that even are considered. Because look, Derrick Henry rushed for 2,000 and no one even talked about it. Really. Mm-hmm. He wasn't even like in a lot of people's final, 4 or 5, picks for MVP. So that just goes to show you it's a quarterback award, like the Heisman.
Yeah, well, that was what was interesting about the Heisman is a receiver, Devontae Smith, won it last year, so shook that up a little bit. I think another thing to factor in, and this is why I think he will reach the 50 touchdown plateau, an extra game this season. He gets 17, not 16. Mm-hmm. So, playing against those Raiders defenses, and that's he's going to hang 5 touchdowns in one of those 2 games. I think he's going to have another exceptional season. So that's where I'm at in my awards. So now. This is what it's all about. You can succeed in the regular season. What do you do in the playoffs? Right, People's going to judge you on what you did in the playoffs. The Patriots of 2007 would have been the greatest team of all time had they beaten the New York Giants in Super Bowl 42. So here we go. Starting with the wild card predictions, my wild card predictions in the AFC based on my seeding. Put it up here. Got the 2 seed Buffalo Bills taking on the 7 seed Miami Dolphins. You've got the 3 seed Baltimore Ravens taking on the 6 seed Los Angeles Chargers, the 4 seed Indianapolis Colts taking on the Cleveland Browns. So I'm going to go ahead and put my prediction up right now. I've got the Buffalo Bills beating the Miami Dolphins. 2 seed beats the 7 seed. Listen, Bills are a better football team. They're absolutely in the Super Bowl picture. They get back to the divisional round for the 2nd straight year. I thought about going with the Chargers upsetting the Ravens. I thought about it for a second. They beat them a couple of years ago in the wild card game in Baltimore. I think because the fact the Ravens are at home, I think there's that comfort level there. I think Lamar Jackson could run all over this Chargers defense possibly because, like one of the things you mentioned about injuries, maybe Joey Bosa's a little beat up late in the football game, the 4th quarter, and kind of getting tired of chasing around Lamar Jackson. I will take the Ravens by a smidgen over the Chargers to get to the divisional round for the 3rd consecutive year. And then I got the Cleveland Browns beating the Indianapolis Colts. This is one that was really interesting because I think the Browns are absolutely the best wild card team in the AFC. Obviously, my prediction showed that. And the Colts, Carson Wentz, really his first real playoff game because his first playoff game a couple years ago, three passes later, he was gone. So he'll finish. He'll play the Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett, and Myles Garrett's going to give him issues and probably cause a fumble at some point in the game. So any disagreements with my predictions right here?
No. I think Buffalo will be at home, so they can beat the Dolphins. It'll be cold probably more often than not.
Oh, yeah.
The Ravens matchup, I mean, yeah, you're right. I think that can go either way. I think the Chargers offense is good enough to keep up with the Ravens. And again, if it boils down to their defense, can they get after Lamar Jackson? Can they force him to become a thrower than a runner? But like I said, that because of the home advantage, you can probably give the Baltimore Ravens the slight edge there. I mean, if you were betting, that game would probably be 2.5. 2.5 points, if that's how close that game would be. And then the Browns, they easily would win over the Colts. I think that the Browns are just overall a better team than the Colts at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you. So we're pretty much 3 for 3 here. So let's go to the NFC wild card. You would have the 2 seed Rams taking on the 7 seed Cardinals. Got a little division matchup there. You've got the 3 seed Dallas Cowboys taking on the 6 seed Seattle Seahawks, and the 4 seed Green Bay Packers taking on the 5 seed San Francisco 49ers. Let's go and put up my predictions right now. I take the Rams to beat the Cardinals fairly easily. They're a better team. Their Super Bowl bubble is certainly more open than it is for the Cardinals. I got Dallas winning a close one over Seattle. One of the things about the Seahawks that we talked about is they tend to kind of limp into the playoffs, and that's something that's going to factor. And something about the Cowboys end of season, a lot of division games, but if you can win, 5 of your last 6, go in with some momentum at home, that they should just beat the Seahawks, similar to how they did a few years ago in the wild card game. So Dallas advances. And then the Green Bay Packers take on the 49ers. 49ers are a better team. They send Aaron Rodgers to Denver, to New Orleans, wherever he's going. But this will be Aaron Rodgers' final game as a Green Bay Packer. It will end unceremoniously at Lambeau Field at the hands of his hometown team, the San Francisco 49ers. Any disagreements with this?
No, I totally agree. The Rams will walk over the Cardinals, and the Cowboys actually play the Seahawks very tough, whether it's a playoff game or regular season. And that game's at home. I think the Cowboys will pull through that. And you're right, the San Francisco roster, top to bottom, is just way better than the Green Bay Packers. So I can easily see the Niners going into Lambeau, and they're capable of doing that. That's a good road team. That's a championship caliber team. And in order to be a Super Bowl winner, sometimes you got to go on the road and beat a good quarterback. And I think the Niners can do that.
And that's one of the things about the Packers is the last 2 times that they've played the Niners, and the Niners have been fully healthy, the game has been virtually over in the first half. Now, albeit both of those games were in San Francisco, so there's going to be the cold weather aspect of it being in Green Bay, Wisconsin. But I think Green Bay's real bugaboo is when they face real physical, hard-nosed defenses. Look at what happened twice against the Buccaneers last year. They got smoked in the regular season and dominated pretty much from start to finish in the NFC Championship game. So I think that's going to come back to bite them yet again. So, okay, that's my wild card predictions. Let's go to the AFC divisional round. Kansas City, coming off their 1 week bye, would take on the 1 seed Chiefs, take on the 5 seed Cleveland Browns, a matchup of the divisional round last year, and another matchup of the divisional round last year, the 2 seed Buffalo Bills taking on the 3 seed Baltimore Ravens. I'm really going out on a limb with my predictions right now, but that's just kind of where I'm at. Put up my predictions right now. Both home teams win. Kansas City beats Cleveland. I thought for half a second, and I'm ashamed of that, about a possible Browns upset, but Baker Mayfield is not going to beat Patrick Mahomes at Arrowhead Stadium in a playoff game. It's not going to happen. And then, listen, Buffalo's a better team than Baltimore. We saw what they did to Lamar Jackson in that divisional playoff game last year. I'm going to take the Bills. I'm assuming you agree with this as well.
I agree. I mean, honestly, the Chiefs, they could have lost to the Browns because Mahomes got hurt. But if Mahomes healthy, he's in that game. They run away with that game. Buffalo has the blueprint on how to beat or slow down Lamar Jackson for the most part, because you maybe can't stop him all the way, but you can somewhat contain him. As long as he doesn't get his feet going, you make him a passer, then that's a win. So I can see the Chiefs and the Bills matching up again for the AFC Championship game.
There you go. So we're going to rematch the AFC Championship game. So let's go over to the NFC divisional round. The defending champion Buccaneers, the 1 seed coming off their 1 week bye, take on the 5 seed San Francisco 49ers, and the 2 seed Los Angeles Rams host the Dallas Cowboys. 2 teams that actually matched up in the divisional round in LA a couple of years ago, or a few years ago, at the old Coliseum. And then for the Bucs, Tom Brady hosting his childhood favorite team, the 49ers. Put up my predictions right now. The Bucs beat the Niners. You can see it. Bucs beat the 49ers fairly easily. Tom gets to play Jimmy G. He'll definitely come out motivated. I think they dominate that game and win. And I may kick myself for this afterwards, but the Dallas Cowboys, The Dallas Cowboys beat the Los Angeles Rams and advanced to their first NFC Championship game since you were how old, Ryan?
I was like 96. I was in the 6th grade, so I must have been like at least a 10 or 11. I'm
Wow.
37 years old now. So think about that.
Well, there you go. It has been a second, but I think they get it done. I say that only because, ladies and gentlemen, I got a bet with our mutual friend Barry Grant Jr. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
That Dak Prescott will lead the Cowboys to the NFC Championship game. So there you go. So conference championship time. A rematch of last year. The Kansas City Chiefs host the Buffalo Bills. And my prediction here, the Bills go on the road in the Chiefs season in Arrowhead and advance their first Super Bowl since the 1990s. Your thoughts?
Wow.
Your thoughts,
that's
Ryan?
bold. That's bold. That's really bold. I mean, I like it. I like the boldness of it. I mean, you want to switch it up a little bit because you want to be too predictable, obviously, because most people would think you would go with the Chiefs. I mean, so I mean, it's not a bad pick. I don't see it happening, but I'm not mad at the pick though. I'm not gonna be like that's a terrible take. Like, no, I mean, could it happen? Yeah, but me personally, I just don't think Josh Allen is that good. I mean, he's good, but not compared to Patrick Mahomes when healthy and at home.
That's the one thing. And look, Patrick Mahomes' only non-Super Bowl playoff loss came to Tom Brady. So that's the one thing I factored into it a little bit. But you know, he's been in the AFC Championship game every year as a starter. I think maybe Buffalo catches Kansas City, you know, sleeping a little bit. And that's weird to say for a conference championship game, but you know, Kansas City's going to look at it and say, "Hey, we dominated this team last year."
The thing with the Bills, I just don't know if they have the arsenal. I love Stephon Diggs; he's a great player.
Right,
he doesn't get a lot of credit either. I mean, he had a good season last year, great season, excellent.
He's a
season.
beast.
But people don't even consider him as like a top 5 receiver. Sometimes
I don't know. They may. I like
some people.
Diggs.
Some people do. I do. We do because we're smart. But there's some people that don't even think about him as a top receiver. You know, and he is a top receiver. He showed that last year. Then after that, it's like, well, who else do they have that they can go to?
They've still got Cole Beasley out of the slot.
Yeah, but he's another vaccine guy.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's see. Let's just say, but is he really going to take over a game? You know what I mean? Like,
no, he's not.
You know, but you look at the Chiefs; they got guys that can score quickly, and like boom. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Tyreek Hill's there. You know, Kelsey. Patrick Mahomes himself is a weapon in his own right. I mean, and you're right. There's a kind of a drop off there, but like I don't know, is Mecole Hardman still there?
I believe he is. Yes.
You know, so they got some guys that they can strike quickly. Like, but I feel like if you double team this Stephon Diggs and take him away, who is their other deep playability? And one thing I've learned about watching at least professional football is that you got to make plays 20 yards or more down the field consistently in order to be a threat. This dink and dunk type of action, it doesn't really pan out for a lot of teams. It may give you some success in the regular season, but when it comes to clutch time, you got to make those 20, 25-yard plays down the field on a consistent basis. And I just don't see them doing that. And I think that's what happened to them. I mean, literally in that matchup last year, they just couldn't make the big plays. Like that game was kind of like close, but not close, if that makes any sense. Like,
yeah,
we didn't feel like the Chiefs were going to lose the game, but the Bills didn't get blown out either. So
they hung around. They were here in a biscuit in that game, but
right.
I mean, that was kind of the thing. But I think, like I said, you look at every season how much better Josh Allen has gotten, and obviously he's not Mahomes. We all know that,
right?
But it's not just little steps. He's taken big step after big step.
Yeah.
And he certainly, I think, will absolutely be in the MVP discussion with the guy who I think is going to win it, Patrick Mahomes. Right. But, you know, something about MVPs is, has it been since Kurt Warner, the last MVP to win a Super Bowl? It has been a while. So I think that trend is going to continue. And I think Kansas City gets beat at home by the Bills, and Buffalo, Bills Mafia celebrate an AFC title.
Yeah, there'll be a shortage of tables in Orchard Park. That's for sure.
Jump on the tables, burn whatever you want, just don't hurt anybody, and that's what we're gonna do. So now the NFC Championship game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Dallas Cowboys
rematch.
It's over with. Tampa Bay wins. I'm not gonna be delusional and say we're gonna go on the road and beat the best football team in the world against the greatest quarterback of all time.
Right.
Listen, I really hope I'm wrong, obviously,
Right. Of
but
course.
that's a tall task going to Tampa against the greatest quarterback of all time, the defending champs. That is a tall order. I think coming off albeit Dak was out, but a 6-10 season to getting to the Super Bowl, I think that's a stretch. So I'll take Tampa Bay to win fairly comfortably. Your thoughts on this one, my fellow Cowboy fan?
I wouldn't disagree with this pick. I know for me, if we did this prediction after Thursday, say we did Friday, if we did a prediction on Friday night, I would kind of be able to give you a little bit more insight because then I can see how the Cowboys actually stack up. This is definitely a what's that saying? A measuring stick type game. And I like it. I like the matchup first week out of the gate. You know what I mean? Because you want to see how good you are. But for sure, Tom Brady is the GOAT. I don't care. He's the greatest of all time. And this is a great roster, and a great collection of coaches.
Yes, 100%.
Bruce Arians a great coach. He's good.
He's a very good coach.
Better. But they have a lot of other coaches like Byron Leftwich emerged as a great play caller. What's the coach again for the defense? Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles called an unbelievable Super Bowl.
And he should get another head coaching job. If Nick Sirianni's getting a job and Dan Campbell's getting a job, Todd Bowles needs to. And let's just be real. Like the Jets, yeah, they sucked, right? But under Todd Bowles, I thought they overachieved.
They weren't garbage. Let's put it that way.
They weren't garbage. He was way better than Adam Gase.
Oh, yes.
So I think Todd Bowles definitely should get another job somewhere. And you're right. I mean, the Buccaneers are just they're a better organization right now. So I would love to see the Cowboys in this game. And I would cheer hard for them. But understanding and not being a homer completely, I'd have to give it up to Tampa Bay as well.
And that's got to be. I mean, listen, since the Cowboys last made the NFC Championship game, they are only one of 3 teams in that conference to have not made it back since. They're along with the Washington football team and the Detroit Lions. And you usually don't want to be in that category.
Not good company.
Carolina's made it. The Atlanta Falcons have made it twice. Actually 3 times since the Dallas Cowboys. You think about the Saints were called the Aints for years, and they made it 3 times under Drew Brees. So, that's kind of reality. I will absolutely take an NFC Championship season as a Dallas Cowboy fan. So here we go. Super Bowl 56, Los Angeles, California. Tampa Bay Bucks, Buffalo Bills. Before I make this prediction, I will have to kind of pat myself on the back and say that before last year, I had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs meeting up in the Super Bowl, and I had the Bucks coming out on top. So just saying. So there is a little bit of validity to this prediction. So the team that wins Super Bowl 56 and brings old Lombardi home is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady wins his 8th championship, which is just ridiculous. He will be hoisting the Lombardi again. He'll win as, I guess this is 6th Super Bowl MVP. If they win this game, I can't listen. After that 28-3 comeback 4.5 years ago, I told myself I'll never bet against this man again.
Me neither.
Do you think Buffalo would have a chance in this game?
No. Just like, again, they don't have enough. They don't have enough, man. I think that Tampa's defense is sick. Okay.
And they you know what though? Their front 7 gets a lot of credit, which it should. Nobody talks about how good their secondary is.
Oh no, right. And I was going to get to that. Like that's another underrated unit for that team. Like no one talks about them. Like they're top to bottom. That's a great defense. I mean, and Josh Allen's going to have to compete with that. I just don't see it's just not fair for him because he don't have enough talent on his side to combat that. And I mean, who's going to go against Tom? I know I'm not going to go against Tom Brady. Look, I could not stand the Patriots for years. Like when they beat the Rams, I forgot what Super Bowl it was when it was in New Orleans. I was like, it's a fluke. They'll never be there again. And obviously they didn't go back the next year, but then they went on that stretch, right? I just hated them. And then after that Atlanta win, when they beat Atlanta, I kind of changed. And maybe I got older and I just kind of respected Tom Brady a lot more. And I respect his grind. I respect everything about him from a competitive standpoint, and I can never go against him. I just can't until he just flats out lose. And even if he loses, right, because he's lost Super Bowls before, but when I see him deteriorate, like how like Drew Brees deteriorated, guys like that, then that's when I can maybe go against him. But he's still playing at a high level. And even if they were to lose somehow, right, this year, I still would not count them out until he is like, you know what, I am done playing football.
Yeah. I mean, and one of my first live shows back in January, I remember that was one of the discussions. A reporter asked him, how much longer do you think he'll play? And I said in the show, I think he'll retire after his age 47. I think he's going to try and go a quarter century, which is just unbelievable for a quarterback. Heck, for any position, but that's just amazing. And like I said, even the last Super Bowl that he lost against the Philadelphia Eagles, the man threw for 505 yards.
Right, well, his fault.
One mistake. He made one mistake, and that was the fumble within the last 3 minutes of the game, and that cost them because their defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. So that was kind of how it happened. So if Tom does lose, he's not going to lose quietly. He's going to go down swinging. So, but I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will win their back-to-back Super Bowl title to be the first team since Tom Brady with the New England Patriots.
Oh, no, Tom Brady. Yeah, I forgot about that. Right.
Yeah, Tom Brady in 2003 and 2004
right.
Was when they beat the Panthers and the Eagles back-to-back. Mm-hmm. So there you go. So one last thing before I let you go, Ryan. It is Thursday. It is kickoff time ahead of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to go and predict the game. Might as well go and do it right now. Put up the graphic. Dallas Cowboys, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, starting the 2021 NFL season. Final score, I've got Tampa Bay winning close, 34-31. The line right now in Vegas is -7.5 Tampa Bay. I don't think they cover. I think this is going to be a competitive game. I think Dallas is, going to come out saying, you think we're just going to get dominated by these guys? And, on the Tampa Bay side, you can make that same argument like, okay, we got rookies talking smack about us. Okay. Right. So I think it's going to be a fun football game. I don't think the NFL could have scheduled a better game.
It's a great matchup.
The season, and certainly of the teams on the Bucs schedule. So I will take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to beat the Dallas Cowboys 34-31 in a close, tight football game. So there you go. Yeah. So with that was the NFL Kickoff Show. Ryan Flowers, greatly appreciate you stopping by to do this prediction with me. And I certainly hope that we are both correct about our Dallas Cowboys for once. It's been a long time for me. I can't imagine what you've went through.
Oh,
and
dude,
a lot of Cowboys Nation has.
It's painful. It's painful, but that's my team, man, and I'm just gonna ride and die with them. Like hell, I named my kid after the team, so I'm vested in the Dallas Cowboys. So if I had a dog, I would probably name him Dak. Well, I do have a dog, but we didn't name him Dak. But it wasn't my choice. It would have been Dak, but anyway.
Yeah, you got to get Dak. You got to adopt Dak Prescott. So there you go. Hope everybody has a great evening. Enjoy the NFL kickoff tonight. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Dallas Cowboys. The NFL season is upon us. We're going to have a full stadium. We're going to like the NFL. It's back. It is back in full form. And it is going to be so much fun. And I cannot wait to have Ryan back on the show and to have other guests on the show throughout all the whole season. And so with that, enjoy the night. Enjoy the game. See you on my next live stream very soon after. Be sure to stay on the Carving It Up podcast YouTube channel. We've got a very special show coming up, and I will reveal it on live stream on YouTube. So God bless you all. Have a great night. Enjoy the game.